Mayday. Mayday. Control tower. Do you copy? The compass is malfunctioning. Something isn't right. We can't control the aircraft. There's something pulling us toward an unknown location.
This was the last message received by the American control tower from the commander of Flight 19 on December 5th, 1945. After that, communication was lost. Flight 19 consisted of 5 military aircraft that all disappeared without a trace while flying a training mission over the Bermuda Triangle area. When the US Navy sent rescue planes to search for them, something strange happened. One of the rescue aircraft that was heading out to save the missing planes exploded in mid-air. Welcome to Midnight Tales. In this episode of Midnight Tales, we will answer the question, why do things disappear in the Bermuda Triangle? Before we begin, if you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe and activate the bell so you can receive our videos as soon as they are released. The Bermuda Triangle is a place in the Atlantic Ocean. It is a large body of water located between the Bermuda Islands, the state of Florida, and Puerto Rico. Since this area is bounded by 3 points, it was called a triangle, and since one of those points is Bermuda, it became known as the Bermuda Triangle. The area of the triangle is enormous, reaching 1.125 million square kilometers. If you can't imagine how large that number is, it is larger than the combined area of France and Spain, for example. The Bermuda area became famous because of articles and studies published by authors and newspapers telling stories about the danger of the place and the strange disappearances that occur there, whether of ships or airplanes. The story says that anything passing through this area, whether at sea or even in the air, disappears completely and leaves absolutely no trace behind. For example, in January 1918, the ship USS Cyclops set sail on its way to port. The journey was supposed to take 3 days and the ship was expected to arrive. People waited at the port for a long time for the ship to arrive, but it never did. Today, more than 100 years later, we are still waiting for the ship to arrive. USS Cyclops disappeared completely. Strangely, the ship never sent any distress signal. It simply vanished without any trace. At the time, the American president came out and said, "Only God and the ocean know where the ship disappeared." After that, the Bermuda Triangle began swallowing a huge number of ships, airplanes, and even submarines. A new chain of mysterious disappearances began, and newspapers and articles started talking about these incidents. But honestly, they exaggerated the matter and set the whole thing on fire. At the forefront were the American news agency Associated Press and Fate magazine, which specialized in stories about accidents and strange phenomena. Then a man named Richard Weiner wrote a book titled The Devil's Triangle. After him came a man named Vincent Gaddis, who also wrote a book about Bermuda. Then Charles Berlitz wrote one as well. It became a huge sensation, and the media and the public began attributing the incidents to supernatural forces. They started explaining what was happening in the triangle area as follows. Some people said, "Guys, beneath the Bermuda Triangle lies the great city of Atlantis, and this is Atlantis's curse upon wicked humans." A second group said, "No, this is Satan's throne located above the Bermuda area, and it burns anyone who gets close." A third group said, No, neither of those. The matter is as clear as day. The reason is aliens. They abduct people who approach Bermuda, take them away, torture them, and clip their fingernails. A fourth opinion said that ships and aircraft passing through the area fall into a time hole that transports them to another era. Of course, all these explanations were completely rejected by the scientific community and ignored because they are simply science fiction. So if these explanations have no basis in reality, what are the real explanations? Why does anything that passes through the area sink and disappear? In reality, a group of researchers began conducting studies around the Bermuda mystery and eventually reached some logical explanations. The first step in understanding the mystery involved methane hydrates. Researchers discovered enormous quantities of methane hydrates being released from the ocean floor in very high concentrations in the area. Through experiments, they proved that these methane bubbles can sink an entire ship because the gas mixes heavily with the water, reducing the water's density and creating a phenomenon known as foamy water. This type of water cannot support the weight of ships, causing them to sink without warning. In addition, scientists from a Norwegian university discovered a crater on the Bermuda seabed resulting from a methane gas explosion. Its diameter was about 500 meters. They confirmed that explosions of that size could be enormous enough to reach great heights in the air and affect aircraft movement. The second point related to solving the mystery lies in tropical storms. These are extremely powerful storms that occur in tropical waters and are common in the Bermuda area. These storms literally toss ships around. In addition, there are some suspicions that the area contains a magnetic field that affects compass movement and the behavior of instruments. All these reasons are enough to make Bermuda a very difficult area for maritime and aerial navigation. But did the matter stop there? American researcher Lawrence David Kusher, author of The Bermuda Triangle Mystery Solved, drew attention to a very important point regarding the triangle: the media. Lawrence began finding contradictions in the stories circulating among people. He discovered that the media and authors had distorted the issue in a highly exaggerated manner. For example, there was the story of a racer named Ronald Crowhurst who was participating in a sailing race. He and his yacht disappeared suddenly, and he later committed suicide due to psychological problems. The media and authors linked Ronald's disappearance to the Bermuda Triangle, even though all the evidence at the time indicated that Ronald died by suicide and was nowhere near Bermuda. The race itself took place somewhere completely different. Even more striking was the case of a ship carrying oil that was lost in the Pacific Ocean. The authors also attributed its loss to the Bermuda Triangle, which is actually located in the Atlantic Ocean. Even stranger, whenever a ship sank or disappeared in the Triangle area, the media and storytellers would claim that the sea was calm, with no waves at all, and everything was beautiful. Since the ship sank in such calm weather, then it must have been aliens. David Kusher and a group of researchers reviewed the dates on which those ships sank with weather experts and Coast Guard officials and discovered something strange. On those days, the weather was extremely harsh and the ocean was at the height of its fury. That alone was enough to sink ships without any aliens or demons involved. But it was the media that transformed the story and distorted the facts. This is what happened, for example, with the sinking of the ship SSVA Fog. The authors told a science fiction story about it. They claimed that the ship suddenly disappeared and then reappeared, while everyone on board vanished completely without any trace of a body, except for the captain, who was found dead in his cabin, sitting relaxed in his chair and holding a still warm cup of coffee. The Maritime Organization completely denied this story and provided photos of the wreckage and photos showing the recovery of numerous bodies from the ship. The ship had actually exploded because of a fuel tank malfunction. There was no captain with coffee and none of the other details. The media simply wanted to add its own touch. Now let's move on to another strange point. The United States Coast Guard and the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration stated that the disappearances occurring in the Bermuda Triangle are similar to accidents that happen anywhere else in the ocean. According to official statistics, the number of aircraft and ships lost in the Bermuda Triangle is equal to the number lost in most other bodies of water around the world. So what does that mean? It means that the media, books, and movies greatly exaggerated the issue. To prove that the media deliberately focused attention on the Bermuda Triangle, let me tell you something new. Did you know that there are places on Earth more terrifying than Bermuda that very few people know about? Have you ever heard of the Devil's Sea, also known by some as the Malumi Sea? This is an area in the Pacific Ocean surrounding Japan's Miyake Island, about 100 kilometers from Tokyo. When the largest disappearance incidents in human history were classified according to statistics, 10 major incidents were listed, and 6 of them occurred in the Devil's Sea. The American C-97 aircraft was heading toward Tokyo Airport and passed through the area. There were 67 senior military personnel on board. Although flying conditions were considered very suitable, the aircraft disappeared, even though it was only 2 hours away from Tokyo. In 1987, the Philippine ship Carlotta was passing through the Devil's Sea when it suddenly caught fire for no apparent reason, despite carrying no flammable materials. When the sailors tried to extinguish the fire at the front of the ship, they discovered that flames had also started in the rear section. After losing hope and surrendering to their fate, they were surprised when the fire extinguished itself without any intervention. The ship returned safely to the Philippines and is still at the port today. The cause of the fire remains a mystery. When the Japanese government sent 100 Japanese scientists aboard a specially equipped ship to uncover the secret of the Devil's Sea, the ship went and never returned. The natural disasters and weather conditions there are 100 times worse than those in the Bermuda Triangle, and the incidents that occurred there are extremely terrifying. Despite that, most people have never heard of it because it never received the same media attention, novels, myths, and bedtime stories as the Bermuda Triangle. The whole matter is marketing. The more something is promoted, the more famous it becomes. In the end, there is a saying that the Triangle is an ordinary area of the ocean plus a bit of bad luck. The Bermuda legend is an artificial legend created by writers and authors, whether intentionally or not, because most of them use incorrect evidence in order to generate excitement. Books, articles, and films operate on one principle. The more exciting the incidents and details become, the higher the sales. Imagine if I made this episode and put a picture of a devil on the thumbnail and wrote, "The secret of the Bermuda Triangle finally revealed." Do you think it would get more views or not? The Triangle is simply an area with unstable weather conditions, and what happens there is largely logical. If we return to the story that was the main reason behind the spread of the Triangle legend, we find that the aircraft that exploded in the Flight 19 story was later proven to be a type of plane called the Martin Mariner, which had fuel tank defects. That is a very logical reason for the explosion. What many people do not know is that dozens of ships and aircraft pass through the Bermuda Triangle every day without any problems. Many people imagine that nobody knows what the place looks like inside the triangle. In reality, it is just a normal body of water. There are no special islands and nothing unusual. Ships pass through it every day in both directions. The only thing is that when an accident happens, it happens unexpectedly. Finally, the Triangle is nothing more than a place with unstable weather conditions that threaten the lives of people passing through it. And with that, we've answered the question, why do things disappear in the Bermuda Triangle? As always, if there is a question that comes to your mind in the middle of the night and leaves you puzzled, write it in the comments below the video so we can answer it in future episodes. And if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and share. If this is your first time seeing us, subscribe and activate the bell so you can receive our videos as soon as they are released. See you in the next episode.